Hey guys, Travis Gillespie. In the last couple videos, we've actually talked about labeling different rays and geometric figures to angles as well. And let's move forward from here, and we're going to look at finding measures of vertical angles. I'm just going to scroll on to a blank part of the screen here. So when you have two lines that intersect, they form two pairs of vertical angles, or another way to think about a vertical angle is uh, they're opposite of each other. So in this figure over here, angles 2 and angle 4, they are vertical. They're opposite of each other, and vertical angles are always congruent. Well, if they are congruent, they have the same size and shape. So what if I were to say here that angle 2 is equal to 63 degrees? I'm not sure if you can see that well. Let me just change it up some. Say, hey, this is 63 degrees. The measure of angle 2, change back to my pencil real quick. Measure of angle 2 equals 63 degrees. Well, what's the measure of angle 4? The measure of angle 4, since it's congruent to angle 2, remember when you have intersecting lines, they form two pairs of vertical angles. In this case 2 and 4 are vertical. If they are vertical, they are congruent. Congruent means they're the same size and shape. So therefore, if measure of angle 2 is 63 degrees, well, the measure of angle 4 will also be 63 degrees. There is a symbol that you can use to show that something is congruent. I could also say that, hey, measure of angle 2 is congruent. This is the congruent sign. Let me highlight that with another color in a second. It's congruent to the measure of angle 4 here. So the symbol that you use for congruence, or to say, hey, something is congruent to something else, get that color out. Be this. That didn't work out too well, so let me just try one more time here, and if not, I'll put it in a different section. Yeah, it's not working. So the symbol for congruence here is this. That lets you know that something's congruent. And here I am stating that measure of angle 2 is congruent to measure of angle 4 because these are vertical angles. Well, if you remember from earlier, I stated that when you have intersecting lines, there's not one pair of vertical angles, but two pairs of vertical angles. So the other pair of vertical angles here would be angle 3 and angle 1. I'm going to just choose a different color still. Cool. So 3 and 1 are vertical angles. So if I were to tell you that, and I just did, that angles 3 and angles 1 are vertical, you could automatically say, hey, the measure of angle 3 is congruent to the measure of angle 1. And if that's the case, you could also tell me what if I were to ask you this? Hey, or if I were to state that the measure of angle 3 is S, that looks like a 5. Change the brush here. This is equal to S. It still looks a little bit like a 5. Try one more time. Cool. S degrees. Well, what would the measure of angle 1 be? So the measure of angle 3 equals S degrees. You could tell me, hey, the measure of angle 1 is also equal to S degrees. Because these two guys are vertical, which means that they are congruent. Cool. So when you have intersecting lines, they create vertical angles, two pairs of vertical angles, and those vertical angles are always congruent. And we have looked at classifying not only angles from our previous videos, which are up top here, but learned how to actually find and name vertical angles. Cool stuff. Have fun.